Myself Vaibhav. In today's session of Visual JForex, we will be starting afresh with the new indicator named minus directional indicator. As the name suggests, this indicator gives the idea for the bearish trend when we are seeing the price decline in the underlying instrument. We will see that the output value for this indicator shoots up. So this gives the idea whether the momentum is bearish enough to go for the short sell trade or not. So using this indicator, we will be focusing on the single side of the trade system. So this session is going to be unique where we are not really looking into the buy side trades, and we will be solely concentrating on finding the good fit for execution of the sell trade. So let us get started with the Visual JForex board, which has been developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. You will find this indicator listed amongst the momentum indicators. Here it is, minus DI. We have to define these four input values depending on which we will be getting the output value. And this output value is named plus DI value, but this indicator is minus DI. If you want to refer to some technicalities, some technical details, you can go through this. You can also refer to the earlier session I had done in the introductory series. If you want to know how this indicator is calculated and its technical aspects, this session is going to be more focused on the functional aspects of it. We will see how this indicator gives us the idea for the execution of the trade while finding the trend. So here I will plot it on the hourly time frame. You can do a quick search using this and you will find it listed minus directional indicator, and true to its name here, when we have this bearish momentum, the output value is inching higher, and whenever we have sideways or the bullish momentum for the underlying instrument, we see that this minus DI value dips. And as you are aware, this directional index value is generally considered trending when we have the output value above 25 and below 25. It is considered more often sideways. And in this particular algorithm, what we will do, instead of relying on this minus DI value solely, we will also use the ADX for looking at the strength of the trend. And for the direction, we will be relying on minus DI. And instead of using 25 as the cutoff for the trade, we will be relying on the ADX. ADX value should be about 25. And in conjunction with that, I think even the lower value like 15 or 20 will do the job. For representative purpose, I am taking the 20 value, but I would suggest that you do the observation, you see what kind of value will be more appropriate, and according to that, you can always change the parameter. We are more concerned with the logical part here, and as I explained to you in the introductory remarks also, we are solely going to focus on finding the short sale opportunities. So here we have these minus DI value inching about 20 from below 20, but at the same time, if we consider the ADX value, ADX has been sideways, and that's simply because we have this consolidation going on for more than 24 hours, and as a result of that, the ADX value has gone down. But later on, we have this bullish momentum, and the ADX value goes up, but the minus DI value doesn't really go on to rise much. So in this kind of situation where we have the momentum picking up, but it is picking up on the bullish side, the minus DI value will give us the idea that this is not really the time to look for shorting opportunities. So instead of looking for sell trade, we will have these algorithm simply in the hibernating mode, and it will wait for more opportune time to arise. And I think this time around, as we have the bearish momentum picking pace, and in this instance both the ADX value as well as the minus DI value is above our desired criterion, and I think this might be the time to look for initiating the short sell trade. But as I said, we want the trade to be initiated during the initial hours of the momentum picking up, so that makes the job a bit complicated, and we have to anchor the initiation somewhere. And for that, I think using 20 as a cutoff value is good enough for choice, not perfect. You can have it 25, you can even make it 15, so it's a question of personal preference. I will be using 20. Okay, so we will need the ADX value above 25, and after that, means at the same time, you can say, we will also want the last hour's minus DI value to be above 20, and the prior hour's minus DI value should have been below 20. So that will be the time to initiate the short sale trade. And as we can observe on the chart also, whenever we have this big shift in the momentum, the price action happens fast, and many times what happens is that a lot of peak movement has happened between the that hour's lowest point, no, in this case the lowest point and the highest point. And instead of looking for the initiation of the trade straight away at the lowest point of the hourly closer, instead of that, I think if we use for a pending order, and we can look for the price movement, and depending on that, taking certain percentages of it as a criterion, we can place the order on the higher side compared to the current price, and that will be a limit order. So we will use similar logic. I think a combination of say 30 or 40% of the price difference between the opening value and the closing value can also be taken, or in another situation, even the difference between the highest point and the lowest point can be taken. So we will determine that as we go ahead. For the time being, let us go back to the Visual JForex board and get started with the initiation of the new setup. And the first thing, as you are aware, we need to do is get the instrument subscription done right. And for that, I will have to rely on the if blocks. We will use on tick this time around. And default instrument should match last tick instrument, and last tick instrument should match the Euro USD. and position amount needs to be 0. I will change the candle period to hourly. Shift value will be changed to 1. So we will be retrieving the output value for last hour. Time period will remain 14, default value. And I will take one more indicator block. To not minus di, we will need ADX value. ADX value will also be defined for the hourly time period. Shift value will be 1. Okay. And then we move on to the price action. For that, we will be relying on the info components. Get historical candle, this will be changed to hourly. Shift will be 1. And then to pinpoint the exact entry point, we will be relying on the 10-second candles as we usually do. If you have been a regular viewer, you might be well aware of this. One more. Shift 1 and 2 respectively for candle 20 and candle 21. Okay, so far so good. I have taken these minus DI two indicator blocks of the different loopback periods. So one is last hour and one is penultimate hour, and we will be doing the comparison. ADX value is to determine the strength of the trend, and to look at the immediate price action, we will be utilizing these historical candle 19, and then to pinpoint the exact entry point, this candle 20 and candle 21 will come handy. Now let us define the pip difference criterion. We want there should be enough of price momentum, so we will define that in pips, and we will also be looking at the actual difference and take certain percentages of it as a order placement requirement. So first I think at the minimum 5 pips of difference should be there, or even you can make it of different value. Suppose if you want 10 pips, 15 pips, all you have to do is change the variable value using which you are going to multiply the default instrument pip size. So this will be the first variable, and then I will create a new variable and assign it the value of 5. And this will be A1 into A2. Okay. And then we will also be needing to look at the actual difference, and for that we have to do a simple calculation, deduct the last hour's closing value, candle 19 candle close, from its candle open. So we get that difference. Candle 19 close should be lower than the open, and the difference in between should be more than this minimum 5 pips as we have defined in this block. There is going to be A1 minus A2. Okay. And later on, when we will be defining the condition for the execution, we will carry out the comparison between these two output values, and we will need APD to be greater than the MD. Okay. And with that, we will stop here for the session as we are running short on time. And I have given you the idea of the underlying logic, and when we will come back next time around, I will be explaining to you how you can then define the conditions using if blocks, and also we will be needing to carry out some calculations for defining the exact entry point. We will be placing the limit order. So with that, even the order validity and other some of the variables will need to be defined. Thank you all for joining in. Do subscribe to the Dukascopy webinar channel to stay updated on the market developments. See you next time. Goodbye.